When does the life of a woman and putting her at risk come into the calculus? That's a quote from Judge Sotomayor back in 2021. Now imagine a world where you are living in where you do not have control over your own body, where life-threatening and life-saving decisions are not made by you, but for you. A world where the arguable life of a fetus is worth more than a living, breathing woman. That is exactly the world we live in today and the exact problems we face as women. Today I'll be persuading you on why abortion is a constitutional right, a fundamental piece of healthcare, the solutions to the problems we solve, and a counter to the argument that abortion is never medically necessary. Abortions are not only needed, but indeed a protected right. According to the Center for Reproductive Health, and I quote, "Since Roe, the Supreme Court has repeatedly reaffirmed that the Constitution protects abortion as an essential liberty." It's not only protected, but in fact protected by the Constitution under the 14th Amendment. Now, what makes this any different from the right to freedom of speech, the right to freedom of religion, and more importantly, and most arguably, the right to bear arms, which also kills our children? What makes this different than any other constitutional right that we have? Why is this one not seen as important or unnecessary? Every year, 68,000 women die from unsafe abortions. And if we revoke the right to safe abortion, so many more will. According to the National Library of Medicine, and I quote, "Every year worldwide, about 42 million unintended pregnancies choose abortion, and nearly half of those, or 20 million, are unsafe procedures." It represents nearly 13% of maternal fatalities and is one of the leading causes of maternal deaths, something that is not only easily preventable, but should be prevented. Now, abortion is not only a right, but is indeed a fundamental part of healthcare. According to the Physicians for Reproductive Health, in 2019, they stated that the termination of a pregnancy by abortion can and is often medically necessary to save a woman's life. 92% of abortions are in the first trimester, but while others are unfortunately have to be given in the third trimester. These can only be done when decided as completely medically necessary and that there's no saving either the woman or the fetus. Now abortion brings up many different problems, but there's many different solutions. There is no one solution, but in fact many. First, we must enact better sexual education that is more truthful in our school system. How can we expect our kids to practice abstinence and contraceptive if we're not teaching them the true meaning of it and the consequences that comes along with it? Secondly, we should have family planning that is publicly funded and accessible to all. This will allow to prevent and plan for intended pregnancies, as well as for women that unfortunately wound up with an unintended pregnancy to prepare for what will happen after. Lastly, and most importantly, I believe that we need greater access and greater availability to emergency contraceptives. If we have the ability to choose something that's not an abortion and less painful and harmful, such as a pill, why would we not choose that? So I have 3 options here that would not only prevent the death of unborn fetuses, but women as well. So why are we not doing it is the question. Many people argue that abortions are never necessary. According to Alexandra DeSantis, in response to Judge Sotomayor's statement, she says, "Abortion is never medically necessary to save a woman's life." But according to the CDC, 42.3% of abortions annually are medically necessary. These can be anything from ectopic pregnancies, which have no chance of survival, sepsis from early water breaks, and limitations put on cancer treatments and treatments for chronic and terminal illnesses. As abortion is banned in states all around the U.S., women are losing the right to certain medications to treat their chronic illnesses such as rheumatoid arthritis because medications like methotrexate and others may cause harm to the unborn fetus that may or may not be there. Why should they have to give up their life, their health, and their safety for that of an unborn, unwanted, and figmental fetus? In conclusion, today I've persuaded you about why abortion is a constitutional right, how it plays into healthcare, the solutions we have to the abortion crisis, and why abortions are indeed medically necessary after all. Now, can you picture a world where unwanted babies are born into abusive households, where mothers die in risky pregnancies that were completely preventable, and where babies are forced to birth babies? This is the grim future that we all face along with our children if we do not stand up and act. We must donate and sign petitions like those enacted by Planned Parenthood to take a stand. In fact, we must protest, petition, and remain proactive in order to beat this crisis.